Hi guys, welcome to our session. Like I had mentioned, I'm just going to be adding our guest for the evening. It is Neerja Birla, and look forward to a super insightful conversation with her. Hi, ma'am.
Hi. Sorry, I think earlier on we were not able to log on for some reason.
Yes.
So yeah.
I think that's okay. First of all, welcome to this session, and thank you so much for doing this for us. It means a lot. So before we start, given the kind of circumstances that we're in, right now, if you can talk a little about the impact of the pandemic in itself, on mental health, and for a person who's going through a lot of anxiety, etc., how can someone deal with something like this?
So first, I'd like to just say a big hello to all our viewers. It's lovely to be in conversation with you. And coming to the first part of your question, the impact of the pandemic on mental health. So I think as we all realize that the levels of anxiety, fear, uncertainty are so high that it is left people feeling obviously very in these times of uncertainty. It has brought about even more anxiety amongst people.
True.
We're also seeing cases where the depressive disorder is. And also the people who already had mental health concerns are seeing an exponential increase in that. So
Yeah.
whether they're OCDs or just plain depressive disorders, anxieties, all of them seem to be on a rise, and quite a sharp one.
Absolutely.
And answering your second question, I think what one can do is, of course, if you are able to identify that yes, there is a mental health concern, or you're dealing with a lot of anxiety, which was not there earlier, or if you're seeing red flags, which could be a change in pattern of your behavior, more irritability, more anger, low moods, then I would suggest that seek professional help. There's no harm in that, and in fact, on the contrary, it will only help you. So there's a lot of professional help out there. We at Empower have a 24/7 helpline,
Yes.
which is running in Hindi, Marathi, and English,
Right.
trained of clinical psychologists and therapists. On the other side, we also have online services. um, so I think if you are feeling and facing some mental health concerns, then most certainly you must reach out and seek help.
Right. You spoke about this initiative that Empower has come up with. Can you talk a little more about that and the kind of work that is happening with this helpline? And you've collaborated with the BMC and the state government for this. So, if you can talk a little about the initiative in itself.
Yeah, so we started this a little over a month ago, almost 6 weeks now, and we've got close to about 50,000 calls coming from different parts of Maharashtra. Of course, Mumbai, yes, but also different parts of Maharashtra, Gujarat, Rajasthan, few from the south. It is a 24/7 line, like I said, and available in 3 languages.
Okay.
And I think that people are responding well to it in the sense that there are people who, callers who call in,
Yeah.
do feel better. We do have people who call back again. So I think it's been, it's really helped people and it's helping people, and I'm really glad about that.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are a little scared to call, they're intimidated, they don't know, when should you call. So I think I would say that anytime you're feeling even slightly anxious, or you're not sure about the future, or you're just feeling a low mood, you're just paranoid about something, just talking to a clinician just helps. It could be a very small thing, but yet picking up that phone and making that call definitely makes you feel better. So
Right.
don't feel intimidated. We have a lot of callers who call but disconnect because they're a little scared of what to
Yeah.
say. So I would suggest that even if you just say that I don't know why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, or I'm feeling angry, and the therapist will just guide you through the conversation, and
Definitely.
give you a few tips on how you can feel better at that point in time.
Yeah. And can you talk a little about some of the issues or the concerns that come up through these conversations that you've had, or that that happened during such a time through the helpline, if you can.
So we're predominantly through the helpline seeing three major concerns: anxiety, depression, and now we're beginning to also see domestic violence coming in, gender discrimination, domestic violence. So we weren't seeing that initially, but now we are seeing cases of that as well, which is very sad. But I think that is something that, is really difficult to deal with, because your perpetrator is also in the same space as you. So, how do you protect yourself? So
Yeah,
we
and
do get a
getting the
lot of
courage to actually make that call as well.
Exactly. So I would say that anybody who's making that call already is very strong. And, to take that call, to make the call also is a very brave initiative, and very courageous on the part of the caller. So we do see those sort of concerns coming in. A lot of times people are also worried about their jobs, what the future is going to be like. From the rural parts of Maharashtra, we get a lot of calls asking about food, medical supplies. So, we are seeing quite a wide variety of calls, but majority are related to anxiety and the depressive disorder.
Right. And you, while you were talking about this, you spoke about job insecurity. Given our economic scenario, there is a lot of stress surrounding that. So how can one deal with that stress, and what can one really do about a situation like that?
So, that is something, that's a reality that we all are facing and have to deal with. So I think probably, let's not look too much into the future, that what's going to happen if you don't, because there is so much uncertainty that, we'll have to just take it as it comes. So I think taking small steps at a time is what would help best to cope with the given situation. And yes, of course, job insecurity is very much a reality. But, let's not imagine it if it is not already there. Let's kind of, contain our fears at this point in time.
Right. And when someone is going through, this stress, is feeling, for instance, breathless and doesn't know what to do, what is that right time, or how does someone kind of know that, this is the time to actually seek for help?
So there are certain red flags that one could look out for. So for example, if you're not sleeping too well, sleeplessness, insomnia, if you are binge eating or not eating at all, if you suddenly find yourself getting very irritable, which didn't exist before, if you find yourself going through mood swings, temper tantrums or temper outbursts, just playing out, not wanting to, well, I can't say socialize, but not even wanting to interact, even say virtually, with people, or even people at home, where you just want to be in your room, not wanting to get out of bed. So these are certain telltale signs and red flags that you should look out for. And if you do experience any of this, then I think it's time that you should make that call. Having said that, even otherwise, even if you don't have these symptoms, for example, and you're still feeling low, I think you can still make that call, because it's only going to be a win-win situation. You're only going to get help and some tips on how to feel better. And I think it's understandable. I think all of us have our phases, have our days, have our moments when we don't feel good. And if it is prolonged, then most certainly you need to make that call. In fact, there's somebody asking for the helpline number. So can I just give the number, if that's...
Sure. I mean, our viewers would be very happy with that.
Yeah, it's Mpower one-on-one helpline, and the number is 1-800-120-820-050. So do
Our viewers got that.
Somebody just asked for it, so I thought I must share it.
Maybe we can share it later once.
Sure.
Again, once we're done with
Right.
live on the
That'll
post
be
as
great.
well. I think that will help our viewers as well. Great. And we did speak about. I mean, now people who are moving into this phase are going through anxiety now. But what about people who have OCD, who have depression, who have anxiety, who are? I mean, these are the people I'm guessing who are hit the most. What about those people, and what do they do in such a state?
So what you're saying is absolutely right. At a time like this, what we are also seeing is that our existing clients, the symptoms have become worse. the concerns have become even more now. So people with, or even people who had underlying issues are resurfacing. So we're seeing a whole, whole gamut of those issues cropping up. And I think what would be the best thing to do is to seek help, because there's nothing like professional help. And why would you want to suffer, right? So if you do know that your OCD is becoming worse and is just becoming difficult to cope with, then you must seek help for it. And again, like I said, Mpower has online sessions going on at all our centers and foundation. And we do see a lot of people taking online counseling. So the only way to, the way I would think is that, if it's really bad and coming in the way of your daily functioning, then you definitely must seek help.
Must seek help, right, right. And this is, I mean, in such a scenario, people, especially who are living in isolation, have no one around them, things would be far worse for them, right?
Absolutely. In fact, we had somebody calling in and actually telling the counselor, that she was living alone and felt so isolated that
Yeah.
she just wanted to just scream. So she just called up the counselor on
Yeah.
the helpline and said that I've just had a bout of screaming because I just needed to let it out.
Wow.
So, we see and hear all kinds of stories
Stories.
coming in, and it's really tough for people living alone because the
Right.
isolation is so high. I mean, you just feel it's so deep that
Yeah.
it's very tough to then deal with it and cope with it all alone. So I
Sure.
would again like to say that that you're not alone. I mean, there is help out there, and please don't feel that you got to deal with it absolutely by yourself. No, there is help, and you must seek the help because and seeking help, I think, in itself is very courageous. So
Right.
let's not think of it as a personal failing, or let's not think of it as something really bad is happening to me. I think what we need to focus on is let's take the help and move on and feel better.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, and what about the caretakers of people who are already suffering from a mental illness? You know, they themselves must be going through a lot at this moment, and then taking care of, someone who's going through something far worse. How can they deal with that, and what advice would you like to give to them?
So, absolutely, I think caretakers have a very tough role to play because they obviously have to be looking after the person, and at the same time, the caretaker or the caregiver also is going through her or his own emotions, which you have to then keep at bay. So, as a caretaker, you're really handling two things: you're handling your own emotions and you're handling the emotions of the person you're looking after. So I think
Right.
for caretakers, it's very important to obviously look after your own mental health,
Definitely.
take time off because you deserve it and you need it. And also, it's important to remember that as a caretaker, if your own mental health is not in the right space or is not robust,
Yeah.
then you cannot, you find it very difficult and cannot then look after the other person. So you have to look after yourself, ensure that you're indulging in self care, do the things that you need for your mental health, so that you can then be available for the other person's, to look after the other person.
Right, right. And when it comes to business leaders, it's not going to be easy for them to, I mean, considering what everything's changed, you're no longer in office right now. What are some of the challenges that they would kind of face in order to ensure that their employees are motivated, that they themselves are motivated, to get up
Yeah.
and work? How do you think they deal with it, or how would you suggest one deals with such a situation?
So I think, things like, I mean, I think over here, and I think that holds true for all of us, is basically to, look after our own selves and indulge in certain things in the day that would make you feel good. So it could be something like exercise, which I think even otherwise one should do because not only is it important for your physical health, but it's, I think, more important and more critical for your mental health because exercise does keep you mentally fit. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about that. So, keeping aside time for your daily dose of exercise, then keep aside time. Of course, you're already, if you're working, then you're, in any case, you've got an structured day to your work. But let there be some flexibility to that. I think you need to allow yourself some flexibility. Being at home, being a work, and if you're a working mom, then you've got your home chores to do, you've got to look
Yeah.
after your family. So you allow yourself some amount of flexibility, but give it a structure as well. Keep aside some space in the house which is then dedicated to your work, so you know
Your
that that's
workspace.
your
Right.
space. And
Yeah.
I think in all that, it's very important to take out me time, whether it is reaching out to your own friends, or reading or catching up with some show, something you need to do as me time, which you feel which kind of rejuvenates you. So that also is very, very important. And a lot of times we get questions that the home, the chores are so much, so how do you manage it? So I think, or if the husband is not helping you, or if the
Yeah.
spouse is not helping, then I think maybe conveying that to your spouse, telling him or her that you also need help. You also find it difficult. I think an open communication is
Yes.
very required at this point in
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Let's also understand that kids are going through their own issues,
Yeah.
especially the
Yeah.
teenagers. So,
Yeah.
we need to cut some slack out for them also. Let's not, sit on their head too much as parents. Let's understand that they also are going through their issues. So, so I think allowing flexibility to our day, to our structure, being more patient with the other person, because just as you, the other person is also going through his own
Yeah.
ups and downs, right? So
Definitely.
I think this is the time for all of us to understand that. And I think in
Right.
this whole picture, I think let's try and look for the silver lining, because there is some good, I'm sure, that all of us can get out of it.
Out of
For all
it.
of us in this experience, if we really look at it, of course it's
Yeah.
very tough, there's no doubt about it. But
Yeah.
let's try and look at what are the good things that we're getting out of it. What are the good things that we're learning from this experience? It could be bonding with the family. It could be getting to know yourself better. It could be, focusing on a new skill. It could be, studying. So, uh, let's try and see the glass half full instead of half empty.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And do you, I mean, with the helpline there, I mean, have you been getting calls from employees, like us who've been working from home and the stresses that come with that? And what are some of those stresses, and what is something that, because I know for a fact that I can't wait to go back to office, and I'm sure that there might be a lot of people like that. So,
Yeah.
what are some of those stresses that come with employees working from home,
So, like you said, there are many people who go to work also because it's like it's your haven away from home.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah,
you want to get away from home to go to work.
yeah.
So that, of course, that is another thing that a lot of people are feeling, that they can't be at home anymore because they just need to get out. But I guess the only thing is that we have to just wait it out. There's no other choice in that. And things will get back to normalcy. This too shall pass. But I think in this period, let's look at how we can make this situation the best that we can.
Yeah.
I do believe that there is no perfect situation. There's nothing called perfect. So
Yeah.
how do we find beauty in this imperfection is what we should try and focus on.
Absolutely. Right, ma'am. Any closing remarks from your end before we end the conversation? Any tips that you'd like to give our viewers so that they can take care of their mental health? Any closing remarks from your end?
So I would say that exercise is a must that you must do, because even if you take some time out, there are a lot of YouTube videos now available. You can just work within the confines of your room. You can work out
Yeah.
within the confines of your room. You do have that extra time on hand now because you're not spending 2 hours traveling.
Traveling,
So
exactly.
I think exercise is something that one must incorporate in the routine. Me time is something else that one must incorporate, even if it is for half an hour in the day. Just give yourself that little break, and that would help. And I think at the end, I would like to say that, for all of us, it's very important to know that it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay not to seek help. So if you do find yourself feeling low and out, or lonely, isolated, feeling depressed, then you must reach out. Empower is right here. We're there to listen to you. We've got a helpline. Like I said, we've even got our online counseling on. So most certainly reach out and you know just make that call. It will definitely make you feel better.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time and for doing this with us. And thank you so much for our viewers for sticking around and watching this super insightful session that we've had with Neerja Birla. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And will you be? Can you put the numbers on your on the recorded chat so that people can avail of it if they need it?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I will add it to the post, and we will
Okay.
put in the helpline so that people have access to it.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much. Wonderful chat.
Thank you so much.